Zoé Meckbach from Polkadot joining us from ETHDenver. Welcome, Zoé. How are you?
Hey.
So what has Polkadot been up to at ETHDenver, and what do you do for Polkadot specifically?
Yeah, so I'm Global Head Ambassador for Polkadot in the Polkadot ecosystem. That means that I'm a brand ambassador. I represent Polkadot specifically for events. So I do and host a lot of events online and offline around the globe. And I also help out in the ambassador program, leading candidates and get them actually onboarded on the Polkadot ecosystem. So Polkadot itself, Polkadot is actually developed by Parity, the development company, and funded a lot by the Web3 Foundation. So Polkadot itself, if I say I'm global head investor of Polkadot, I don't work with these companies directly, but I'm representing the protocol and the brand itself. So we had teams people from Web3 Foundation and Parity here at ETHDenver the last days. On Tuesday and Wednesday we had a lot of talks around the ecosystem, a lot of parachain projects joined us, and we gave workshops, little talks, and also a pretty cool party Tuesday evening. And now we actually have a booth here at the castle, and looking forward to meet a lot of people and developers.
So Polkadot is heavily focused on interoperability. Can you tell us about Polkadot's parachains and any projects coming out within the ecosystem you're excited about?
On Polkadot at the moment we have 5 parachains launched so far, and there are a lot of auctions going on where a lot of other parachains want to get onboarded. But we also on the other side have Kusama network, right? The white cousin of Polkadot. And there we already have more parachains launched and also auctions going on. So it's actually a pretty exciting time in the ecosystem itself because we have auctions, crowd loans and so on going on Kusama as well as on Polkadot. I am personally also a council member of Vala Network, which is a parachain on Kusama at the moment and to be on Polkadot. So of course that's also a pretty exciting project. It's a privacy preserving blockchain that works also with TEEs, trusted execution environments. Personally I'm really excited about a lot of privacy focused chains. Manta is also a protocol that is focused on privacy and these kind of protocols and parachains that are going to launch.
And you mentioned Kusama. How does that relate to Polkadot?
Yeah, so Kusama is the Canary network. It's also a relay chain, similar architecture than as Polkadot. But the use cases are different, and also the chains, the parachains that are launching on Polkadot are a bit more you could say a bit more crazy, a bit more experimental. The slogan of Kusama is expect chaos. Yeah, so a lot of parachains are onboarding on Kusama first to actually not test their technology because they tested on a testnet. Kusama is a live net with their own token, KSM, but to see how everything is going on before you actually launch on the big protocol Polkadot. So some chains, some parachains want to focus only on Kusama. Kusama is providing a lot of use cases for NFTs and art-specific chains and projects. So there are some projects that only launch on Kusama, but some launch on Kusama first and then move into Polkadot. But that's just a strategic decision. So some projects also directly launch on Polkadot without going through the whole process on Kusama. In general, it's a very smart way how they designed it because again, you can actually try everything out, how actually when you develop your parachain first and then it's onboarded as a parachain. There's a lot of development going on because you still need to sync everything. So you can test this first out on Kusama and then go to Polkadot, and it just provides more, I would say, high quality once the parachain actually launches on Polkadot.
So you have another event coming up in June called Polkadot Decoded. What's going on there?
Yeah, super excited about this. So Polkadot Decoded is the biggest Polkadot conference that we are hosting once a year. The last 2 years they were only online, and this year is the first time that we are doing it in a hybrid version, so a hybrid format. So we have, I think it's 3 continents in New York, in Berlin, and in China, where we are bringing people together from the ecosystem and have a lot of talks just around Polkadot. The cool thing is that we always love to include the community. So Polkadot has, in my opinion, the most vibrant and engaging community. So what we do is, if you want to apply for a speaker slot or workshop or whatever, if you want to just get engaged in the conference, we have a call for proposal for speaking opportunities. So it's not on-chain, but you still submit your proposal, and then the community can actually vote who they want to have on the conference, who they want to see speaking, who they want to learn from, giving workshops. And I think this is very unique, and it's super cool because the community decides and designs the agenda and the whole content of the conference.
Well, Zoe, thanks so much for your time. Before wrapping up, where can our audience connect with Polkadot?
Yeah, a lot of channels, of course. On Twitter, you can follow Kusama and Polkadot, but on our website, we have a lot of cool links to everything. You can get involved in the network as a validator also, and I encourage you also to check out the ambassador program. So I'm helping out to support ambassadors there that are getting onboarded to the program, and you get actually cool rewards, and can spread the word about Polkadot and the technology.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
We have Giv from Harmony. Thanks for joining us, Giv. How are you doing?
Glad to be here. Doing well, thank you.
So Harmony has had some huge presence at ETHDenver this year. Can you tell us about the events you've hosted thus far?
Yeah, so Harmony's been one of the biggest sponsors of ETHDenver. You know, this is really the ultimate venue for all the latest and greatest projects. So we wanted to go all in. We wanted to make sure that we speak to as many builders as possible and let them know about all the tools and the resources that we have to help them build and scale on their Web3 projects. So we've been very much focused on attracting builders and really kind of sharing information about our grants program and how they can kind of take advantage of that to onboard as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Do you have any other plans for this week?
This week we've got a bunch of talks. Again, you know, we've got our booth here at ETHDenver and just trying to maximize our time here and meet as many builders. There are a lot of developers who are shopping around trying to find the right chain to build on. So we want to be there, right? We want them to be informed and know all the possibilities and what they can kind of do on Harmony.
Yeah, developers are certainly important. For those in the audience who may be unaware, what is Harmony and what's it trying to accomplish? Yeah,
so Harmony is a layer 1 sharded blockchain. We're actually the first proof of stake sharded blockchain. And because of the architecture, we have 2-second finality, so it's a super fast transactions, and fees are less than 1 cent. So this is a very attractive ecosystem for developers and consumers who are maybe fed up with high fees, high gas fees, and slow transaction times. So we're an EVM compatible chain, which means that existing Ethereum developers can very easily port their applications across with no modification. So yeah, we're just providing a faster and cheaper alternative.
So which blockchains are compatible with Harmony, if any, and are more in the pipeline to be added? I know you mentioned you're EVM compatible.
Being EVM compatible means that any project on any other EVM chain, be it Polygon, Avalanche, builders can go multi-chain very quickly and add Harmony, deploy on Harmony as well. In terms of compatibility, we focus a lot on our bridges, our interoperability, which means that you can exchange and swap tokens to and from Harmony. Currently we have bridges to Ethereum. We are compatible with BSC. We just rolled out our Bitcoin bridge, which is our first non-EVM chain. And really our goal is to bridge to all the chains. That's really our value proposition, that you can come to Harmony and seamlessly bridge your tokens to all the chains.
That's awesome. Harmony currently has a $300 million grant fund open to DAOs. What's the goal with this fund and where is this money coming from?
Yeah, so this money is coming directly from the Harmony Foundation. This was set aside specifically to grow the ecosystem. The $300 million fund was launched in October of last year. Since its launch, we have approved over 100 grants, totaling in over $20 million. This process is intentionally easy for applicants. All you have to do is come and post your proposal publicly on our forum. This will give our community a chance to review the application, ask questions, and really engage the broader community And we use that as a signaling tool to see whether there's demand for this project, and we're able to approve it very quickly. So on average, we like to approve projects in no later than 1 week, right? So we move very quickly, and the goal is to onboard projects as quickly as possible.
That's awesome. Do you know the average grant size you're giving out for these projects?
Yeah, so we have several tracks, and folks can read about this on harmony.one/apply. The tracks vary. We have launch grants. These are for brand new projects who just need to be bootstrapped. The average check size is about $50,000, paid out in tranches based on milestones that they meet. We have a port grant. This is for projects who are already on other chains. Maybe they have some great initial traction and they want to go multi-chain. So we'll give them a grant to help them transition and port to Harmony. And then we also have a specific fund for DAOs. The average payout for DAOs is about $75,000. And we have very clear guidelines about what a DAO is, what a DAO isn't, all the things that you need to have to create a proposal, things like your mandates, your deliverables, your initial set of governors, and provided you check all of those items, you post your proposal on our public forum, again, we can approve it very quickly and help you launch your DAO.
Certainly. Giv, thank you for your time. Where can the audience learn more about what Harmony is doing?
Yeah, so you can go to our homepage, harmony.one, and everything we do at Harmony is completely open and transparent. So if you check out our YouTube channel as well, every Monday we have our internal all hands meetings that we record and we upload to YouTube the same day, so the whole world, the whole community can watch. They can actually sit in on our meetings and learn about all the latest releases, all the issues, completely transparently. And Twitter, obviously, we're everywhere. So, and we're also very approachable. So find us, reach out to us. Happy to buy you some coffee and chat.
Super cool. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ryan.
Hey Ty, thanks for coming on. How's your week been at ETHDenver?
It's been great, man. Just wheeling and dealing, talking to a lot of people. I don't think I've ever really seen this many founders, builders, devs, investors in one spot before. Even after going to like DeCentralCon in Miami, it's just been a hectic week. So.
For sure, I feel you on that. So for those who are unfamiliar, what does NFTY Labs do in Web3?
So what we do, and this is kind of like my short pitch to everybody, especially in clubs when the music is very loud. We make NFTs do cool stuff. What that means is we can turn NFTs into like access passes and make them have like practical use cases. So a lot of people aren't really aware that NFTs can really do a lot more than sit in your wallet and look cool. You can actually do things like use NFTs for tickets to physical events. You can use them for access to like social communities. You can use them for like redeeming coupons and discounts, and the list goes on. And we could probably talk about some of those use cases, but those are just a few. So
that's awesome. So is NFTY implemented on any blockchains yet? Is it operating?
Yes, so we actually started out, and maybe I'll just kind of back up a little bit. So NFTY Labs is our venture studio. It's how we build technology around NFTs. It's also how we built our token economy called NFTY Network. But we started out with our MVP called NFTY Connect. That was how we were able to host token gates from different networks and different applications very early on. But of course, it has all of our branding on there. And in working with quite a few brands, throughout our time, we've discovered that they're looking for more of like a white label solution. So we've actually recently started development on a product called Social Pass that we actually released to the public this week. And essentially, it's just an out-of-the-box white label solution that brands could come in and say, "Hey, we want to have NFTs. We want them to do stuff. Can you just give us like some sort of portals?" To be able to provide utility to our users, and we can just have an easy rollout solution for them on that.
So would the brands be making their own NFTs, or would they be saying, "I want to whitelist everyone in the Bored Ape Yacht Club for an event"?
Either way.
Okay.
That's the cool thing about this. So for a brand, some brands want to approach it with their own NFTs, have an actual rollout strategy. Some want to take the approach of maybe getting more embedded in the Web3 audience a little bit more before having their own NFTs out in the market. But we've seen like McDonald's, Pizza Hut Canada, Taco Bell, Adidas, Nike. Everybody has like their own NFTs now. They're really warming up to it because the regulatory framework for NFTs is a lot more safer, so to speak, than maybe some of the DeFi or social token related stuff. So they're more willing to put out their own NFTs, but they don't have to. They could actually say, hey, we want to be partnered with the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT community and be able to enable those users who hold those NFTs to maybe come to their hosted events, for example. So you can use like Guttercats, Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, or even CryptoPunks, and kind of give them like exclusive perks of holding those NFTs to come to these Web2 brands, physical events, for example, or their social communities or whatever applications they want to explore. So either way.
That's really cool. And from a digital perspective, in what ways is signing on with an NFT similar to using ENS, and in what ways does it differ?
So ENS is, so maybe we'll clarify Ethereum name service. Those are domains that you can have as part of like your kind of like home on the Ethereum blockchain, for example. Now that's just Ethereum. Now obviously you're gonna have like more domains pop up on like some of the other chains, like some of the other layer 2s and things like that. What we primarily do is we can turn any NFT into an access key, basically, on really any chain as well. We're chain agnostic, so we work across most EVM compatible chains, obviously Ethereum as well. We're looking at integrating some other layer 1s as well. But we can actually, without having to have an ENS name program from the get-go, you can just turn any NFT into an access key. So it doesn't have to be launched through ENS's servers. And most of that data is being hosted on a centralized database anyways. In ENS's database. Sometimes it's IPFS, decentralized database, but most of the time it's in a centralized database. And so we can actually just use a blockchain, use the actual token contracts themselves to actually do the gating portion, and then return some sort of access to applications. So a little bit different there, yeah.
And do you have any plans to implement human readable names? So for example, if I sign in with my mutant ape, could people send money to mutant ape number 21468?
That is something that's interesting. We haven't explored that per se, but I definitely would like to in the future, yeah.
Very cool. And how do you plan on integrating with Shopify, Twitch, and WordPress?
So those are essentially just applications. And maybe I'll just clarify like how our systems really work to be able to reward the user with access. So what we do is we verify digital asset ownership, and that could be like fan tokens, social tokens, or NFTs obviously, on the blockchain. So we'll check the user's wallet address. Hey, does this user have the required token or token contract to be able to actually get access in the first place? And so once we determine that they do have the required digital asset, then after that, whatever access we're granting, whether it be Shopify, WordPress, or Twitch, we can simply give them that access. So for a Twitch stream, for example, you'd have to have that in like a sort of a gated content portal, so it wouldn't be able to be like on the Twitch page itself, because obviously if you do that, they can just take the link, share it to their friends, and totally bypass the gating. Same thing with like WordPress. You want to have like the hosted content itself on a portal where you can only access the data for that content so long as you have the asset required for that. And then Shopify, I was actually just talking to somebody earlier today who's partnered with Shopify, and they want to explore some more use cases. You can think of things like being able to go on a Shopify store and proving that you own an asset to get some sort of discount or coupon code that automatically applies to any of the items on the store. It doesn't have to be NFTs, it could be actual like physical items that you can get delivered. Obviously the fulfillment will be done by the Shopify store itself, but the actual sort of discount would be applied once you prove you own the asset. And that's just like simple MetaMask or Wallet Connect. So
that's really cool. It seems like there could be integrations for IP as well for the NFTs that give out IP.
Yes, there's really, that's the thing. We're really scratching the surface with what NFTs are capable of right now. I think that most of the attention has been on like the speculative side, or maybe what I call phase one. But I think that even though the NFT market cap has gone from like 350 million in 2020 to 22 billion now, we have just really scratched the surface. We're not even really diving into a lot of the applications that NFTs are capable of.
Today we have with us Mason Burkhalter from API3. Mason, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good to hear. So before we get started, can you give us a high-level overview of what API3 is for those in the audience who may not be familiar?
Sure. API3 is a Oracle solution. It's blockchain-based. So in a nutshell, it's all about getting data on-chain. Just like, the internet relies on APIs and data to create applications and all sorts of infrastructure. The same thing is necessary for blockchains. So the Oracle problem is basically a well-defined problem of how do you get real-world data on-chain, especially because they're closed systems. So that's basically what we do. We offer first-party oracles, which essentially cuts directly to the source, provides data directly from a data provider.
So I've been to a couple of your events thus far, but what else has API3 been up to at ETHDenver?
Yeah, we're up to a lot actually. We're sponsoring the DeFi track here. We just launched beacons. So beacons essentially allow continuous data feeds. Basically, one of the bigger use cases in this space right now, in the industry is data feeds. And this is how you get like pricing data and all sorts of stuff, but there's a lot of opportunity for further innovation. So we have just developed beacons. Beacons make it possible to continuously update pricing data, which is important. And with ETHDenver, what we're doing is we're essentially opening up the DeFi track to get people to build on it, use it. And we also announced that we are, like our inaugural beacon is going to be run by Amber Data, which is huge because they're like a huge digital asset data provider in the space. So it's very exciting.
So what kind of data is Amber Data actually providing you guys with?
It's like crypto pricing data, basically. And it's extremely powerful in like DeFi applications where you need like a continuous price so that you can develop things like swaps and all sorts of decentralized applications.
So API3 explains itself as the Web3 API economy. What does this mean in layman's terms?
Yeah, so APIs are basically like the glue that holds everything together in the internet, right? And Web3 is referring to basically blockchain technology, but it stands to reason that it is going to become the new internet, right? So when we say the Web3 API economy, what we're basically saying is the new accessibility of APIs in the new ecosystems that are blockchains.
And can you speak more on how the API3 DAO operates?
Yeah, so a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. And it's really cool. It's basically just, a collective of people who all organize together and contribute to this organization and this project, right? So basically the way that we operate is every 3 months we do a proposal. There's like a team leader. Everything is vote-based and it's all merit-based too. So, if somebody isn't really doing their job, let's say like a manager isn't really doing their job, his own team can basically vote him out, right? And there's a level of accountability there that lets everyone kind of have ownership over the project in all aspects of the organization. And so it's very hierarchically flat. And it can only really be that way because of how the organizational structure is built onto the blockchain. So basically at all levels creates a bunch of different layers of accountability.
Up next, I'm here in ETHDenver with Red from Harvest Finance. Red, how are you doing?
Great, thanks for having me.
Pleasure's mine. So what has Harvest been up to today at ETHDenver and throughout the week?
Just trying to talk to different people, let them know. I gave a talk today specifically about DAOs, that DAOs are much more than voting. It's actually about people and being community powered and actually decentralizing your organization. And I think that's actually one of the coolest things about Harvest is since a year and a half ago we launched. Started out centralized, but we're now 95% decentralized, where guys like me, just randoms off the street, are helping do things at Harvest, whether it's working with the media or there's developers that are community based or somebody's doing marketing or whatever it is. The majority of operations at Harvest are done by random people.
That's awesome. And for those who may not be familiar with Harvest Finance, can you explain the protocol from a high level?
Sure. In decentralized finance, protocols need people to deposit money, they're called liquidity providers, into those protocols so they can work. Those protocols are replacing a bank, so other people need to replace the money that a bank would otherwise put in there. To entice those deposits, those protocols give rewards to those depositors. Harvest Finance basically does like a carpooling effect, takes all depositors' money in mass, deposit it at these other protocols to earn the rewards, sells them, redeposit it back into the user account, and effectively compounds their balance so they can grow their worth exponentially.
And which strategies on Harvest Finance are most popular, and why do you think that is?
I think some of them are kind of like the degenerate strategies. Everybody loves the 1000% APYs and stuff like that. I think Harvest is very good at making sure we're deploying safe strategies with a little bit twist of degen, like Looks Rare. Released their token and they were doing a farming cycle for 2 weeks, and it was an extremely profitable farm for our users. And I think we were one of the first and only ones that were actually offering automated yield farming on Looks Rare. But we offer over 75, 80 different currencies that you can deposit and earn returns on at Harvest.
So what's the benefit to staking Looks Rare on Harvest Finance instead of staking directly on Looks Rare's platform?
So it's the automated compounding. So everywhere you look, you generally see APY percent. That's a version of compounding. You have to sell the rewards that they give you and redeposit it in your original currency in order to achieve that percentage rate. If you're just simply farming their token and holding on to it, you're earning APR, which is a flat earning curve as opposed to an exponential curve in compounding.
That's awesome. And Harvest has been building out support for Polygon. How's that going?
Oh, it's going amazing. We have some really cool partners on Polygon, like Jarvis Networks on Polygon. I work with another protocol called APY Finance, which works very synergistically with Harvest. If you think Harvest and you deposit $1,000 there and it's making you 10% over a year, well, that's over a year. So your $1,000 is now locked for a year in a sense, right? You can't do anything with it. APY lets you payday advance in a sense 90 days ahead of time on your yield. So they futurize your yield so you can get it today and go spend it or redeposit it somewhere else. So I think those are that's the two cool things that Harvest is still kind of innovating, connecting with these other projects, and then launching on Polygon because APY does that as well.
Awesome. Are you integrated on other layer 2s? Are you planning to integrate other chains?
Yeah, we're kind of looking around to see what chains are sustainable because unfortunately you're seeing a lot of copycat projects on chains, and that may be bringing a lot of traffic and TVL, but it's very short term. And we don't want to deploy on a chain that isn't going to have long-term lasting power. So it's more of, we're on Polygon right now. We've been on Binance Smart Chain for a long time, but ultimately that next chain we really want to make sure is a strong chain with lastable yields.
100%. That's so important. What are the rewards like on Polygon compared to on the mainnet?
It's really just depends. Everything's project dependent, right? So there's some really cool small projects we work out of, like Changer.io. It's a DEX aggregator. They came and deployed almost $1 million in rewards over a couple of months with us. But then we work with Jarvis on Polygon, right? And they may not give $1 million or $1 million in rewards, but they still give a great chunk of rewards that provides a great return in APYs for our depositors.
And what kind of support does Harvest Finance have for Uniswap v3? Was this hard to implement on Uniswap's concentrated liquidity positions?
Yeah, it's actually very difficult because with Uni v3 you have to manage those bands, and if you go out of ranges on those pools, users kind of have to exit that pool and then maybe have to redeposit a new strategy vault. So Uni v3 is difficult. Harvest is working on a solution for this in 2022 for managed strategies, like specifically on pairs like ETHUSD, when there's like a bull market and there's a lot of profitability as long as you manage those ranges in Uniswap V3, and Harvest is looking to offer that as a service.
Thanks so much for your time, Red. Where can the audience connect with you and learn more about Harvest Finance?
The best place would be on Discord, especially if you want to become part of like our DAO and a community worker. Again, I showed up week 1 and I was just some normal guy wanting to use the protocol, and now I'm sitting here in a podcast talking to you. Anybody watching this, anybody on the internet, if you got skills in risk management or process improvement, you can write an article, maybe you speak a different language and you help us translate. Like, you don't have to be a developer to be in DeFi. These are businesses, and businesses need all of those skill sets. So please come join our Discord, check out harvest.finance is the website, and you can start from there.
Well said. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm excited to be here in ETHDenver today with co-founder of 1inch, Sergej Kunz. Sergej, how are you doing?
Hi, great. Thanks for inviting me.
So what has 1inch been up to at ETHDenver?
Some of you knows maybe that 1inch started on a hackathon back in 2019 in ETH, New York. I and Anton, my co-founder, we participated on the hackathons around the globe from December 2018, started from Singapore, and we traveled around the globe, like participated in 18 hackathons, won a lot of prizes. And we know how it is important to have a platform where people can hack, build, innovate, and also became maybe a unicorn after like a couple of years, what was the case in 1inch. And we try to give back what we got from the Ethereum global organization, other hackathons. So we participate here, sponsor, and offer bounties, grants, if someone builds something on top of our protocols. So this is actually why we are here, to give back what we got 2 years ago, like 1.5 years ago.
So do you have any specific bounties going on for ETHDenver?
Yeah, we have in sum around $40,000 as bounties. So there are a couple of kind of challenges from our side. We have a lot of protocols, limit order protocol, fully open sourced, fully flexible to extend and build on top of this. And our aggregation protocol can be used, for example, to exchange tokens when you leverage a position on a Lightning protocol, something like that. There are a couple of ideas which we provided. Also open track, so up to $40,000 you can win actually in the hackathon here.
So 1inch is mainly a DEX aggregator. For our non-crypto natives out there, can you explain what this is?
So we started with the aggregation part. We had just the idea to build a service for ourselves to get the best rate, because we had 4 or 5 DEXs like Uniswap, Kyber, Banker, and we had the problem that how to get the best rate. You need to go to each of these DEXs and you have to compare it. And at the end, it makes no sense to use each of these DEXs in parallel. And we built an aggregation, just combine all liquidity sources in a single one by using algorithms. And for the non-crypto native people, I would say we are Google, or we are aggregator for airplane tickets, for example. If you are looking for an airplane ticket, you don't go to Lufthansa or Emirates or whatever else. You go to aggregator, because they're companies, they compete between each other, and you get the best price only by using aggregator. We are more complex just compared to finding a ticket. There are more complex things happening under the hood. This is, I guess, a good explanation. So it makes no sense to use direct DEXs, because you never know where is the best price, because the liquidity is distributed among a lot of sources. We have on Ethereum 25,000 liquidity sources, and we calculate in 90 milliseconds the response of the path.
That's a great analogy. So 1inch has integrated with several layer 2s and EVM compatible chains. I'm curious to know which non-Ethereum chains you've seen the most volume on 1inch.
So based on our analytics, we have on Binance Smart Chain $16 billion in volume since we integrated Binance Smart Chain. The second one is Polygon, around $10 billion volume, and each of these chains has like 500 to 600,000 wallets which are actively using 1inch.
Very impressive. Do you have a personal favorite layer 2?
There are already right now a couple of layer 2 solutions. Also composable, it's possible to use other protocols on these layer 2s. Just very important because the DeFi is all about composability and synergies. Right now we have support of Arbitrum and Optimism. I see a huge step forward for DeFi by releasing ZK Sync in the mainnet. This is from Metal Labs. It's also one of our friends. They're building really nice solution, really a scalable solution, and which can solve the scalability problem of Ethereum. And ZK Sync would be from our point of view, one of the best layer 2 solution in the next future.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of ZK Sync. Do you have plans to add support for any other blockchains?
So we work there's analytics team. It's like 5 people around, and they're looking on different chains. If something is happening on a chain, there's a TVL, real people, not just bots, and then it makes sense to deploy the aggregation protocol on the chain, as well as other protocols we have, liquidity protocol, limit order protocol. And we 2 weeks ago we released support for the Gnosis chain and the Avalanche, and I think we will also go direction Phantom and Harmony potentially.
Hi Hart, thanks for joining us. How's your week at ETHDenver been?
It's been a wild week, guys. There's some crazy lines out there, lots of people.
Yeah, I feel that. So you're actually an ex-Goldman Sachs executive. That's a tad ironic. How do you get into Web3?
I don't know about the term executive per se,
Okay,
but
okay.
no, I was at Goldman for 8 years. I mean, frankly, it was weird I got into Goldman in the first place. I was a CS guy. I never expected to work in finance, but I did, and spent 8 years there trading interest rates. And crypto, well, my journey to crypto was actually through fintech. I started a fintech business following my time at Goldman, and then got into crypto. And I don't know, man. This to me is just the perfect combination of computer science, economics, finance, psychology, and incentive structure design. It's a fun place to be.
Very cool. So for our audience that may not be aware, can you give us some background on what UMA is?
Totally. UMA has a long history. What we are today is what we call an optimistic oracle. So it's a type of infrastructure or primitive that lets contracts ask for information that doesn't exist on the blockchain. And we do this differently than other Oracle projects. We do this optimistically. So most of the time in the kind of happy path, it's easy to get an answer for any question, any verifiable question. What that's really useful for is building financial contracts or different types of payout structures where the payout determines or depends on some real world data. So one example of that would be determining the payout of like a bet, like who won the Super Bowl. But it's also useful for determining the payout of, say, an options contract or some sort of like financial instrument.
Really interesting. So are optimistic rollups similar to optimistic oracles? Is that similar technology or something completely different?
Some of the concepts are similar.
Okay.
So honestly, we were friends with the optimistic rollup team called Optimism.
Mm-hmm.
Are friends of mine from back in the day, and they helped us think optimistically. So they're useful in the development of the concept. But the core idea here is similar in the sense that you design the incentive structure so that people do the right thing most of the time. But if somebody cheats or lies, there is a path to resolve that, to kind of escalate that dispute and say, figure out what the truth was. And frankly, you can think about this as the way legal contracts, like traditional legal contracts, are actually enforced. Where in a legal contract, like you and I could enter into a contract in the state of Colorado, and we hope we don't litigate it, but we know that if we don't agree on the outcome, we can go in front of a judge and jury and figure out who's right. And so the threat of enforcement is what keeps people acting honestly, and it's a very useful primitive in crypto, because now I can ask all these questions and do all these things without doing a ton of work, right? I can just enforce it optimistically, and I have this threat, I have this outcome, this other place I can go if people disagree.
That's a really great analogy. What kind of synthetic assets are currently on UMA, and are there any other types of synthetic assets that are in the pipeline to be added?
Yeah, there's a ton, and there's a long history of them. We've created synthetic assets that track the ETH Bitcoin exchange rate, for example, was one of the very first things we did. We created synthetic versions of other coins to let you be able to short them. We've created tokens that track the price of gas on Ethereum. But I think some of the most interesting stuff we're working on now is creating what we call KPI options, or helping projects create KPI options. These are effectively tokens that create an incentive for somebody to do something. So we could create a token that says, hey, if our project has $100 million of value locked in it, we'll get a payout. And then you can use these tokens to build communities. You can airdrop them to your users and be like, hey guys, if we go and we achieve this metric, if we achieve this outcome, we're gonna get a payout. And I think that's one of the cooler use cases for the types of synthetic assets our infrastructure allows.
That's really cool. And do you guys tokenize stocks at all too?
We don't really do that. I think there's a whole bunch of regulatory concerns with that, and frankly, I think that for most people, my personal opinion is that if most people want to buy stocks, they have means to do so.
Agreed.
And I mean, that'll maybe change in the future, but there's a lot of regulatory questions around that.
Certainly. And in what ways does UMA make developing smart contracts easier for developers?
The simple truth is that for a blockchain developer, it's hard to get a lot of types of data. There are other oracles out there that will let you get the price of Ethereum or get the price of Bitcoin. But if I wanted to know who won the Super Bowl, that's actually not a piece of data you can get on the blockchain very easily. And that's just an example. So for us, what our real sales pitch to developers is kind of more of one of necessity, where if you have a project that needs some piece of data that isn't just some price feed for a common cryptocurrency, you kind of have a really hard time doing it. The only other way, other than using an oracle like ours, is really to do it in a centralized way, to have some trusted entity saying, hey, here's what the answer is. So we're just a really useful way to decentralize gathering data or gathering truths that aren't already available on a blockchain.